Welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. When you're ready to transform your sales for today's transforming market, we've got you covered with your host, the queen of cold calling and founder of Salesology, award-winning author, speaker, sales trainer, and coach, Wendy Weiss.
Hi, welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. And I'm your host, Wendy Weiss. I am the founder of Salesology and creator of the Salesology prospecting method. I am also known as the queen of cold calling. And today, my very special guest is Ben Azulay. And Ben is a principal and president of the Chicago region of Bradford Allen. Since joining Bradford Allen as an associate in 2004, Ben has made significant contributions to the firm. In 2015, he became a principal due to his hard work, dedication, and vested interest in the direction of the company. And I'm going to ask him about that. That's a very fast rise. And Ben specializes in representing office tenants in Chicagoland and nationwide. He's had great success representing landlords in a variety of real estate transactions, and his expertise in assisting commercial office clients with operational, qualitative, and financial structuring allows Ben to easily identify problem areas and craft smart, client-specific real estate solutions. And I love that smart, client-specific part. As a member of the leadership team, Ben also plays an integral role in the strategic direction of Bradford Allen. He's a regular contributor to the firm's research and recruiting efforts. I'm going to ask him about that. And he assumes an influential role in mentoring new brokers along with overseeing his own team. Ben lives in Lincoln Park with his wife and 4 children, where he enjoys staying active by biking and running. He's an active supporter of Ramah, Wisconsin, and an avid fan of the Chicago Bears. So welcome, Ben.
Oh, thanks so much, Wendy. You know, it's really funny. Listening to my bio, it just puts a big smile on my face because it's like, you know, you kind of think about what you've been doing and where you've been and, you know, just real estate in general. And I don't know, it just kind of made me happy. And it made me think back that, 2004, I've almost been here 20 years and it's been a fun ride.
Wow. Yeah. And so what is the backstory? I want to know, first of all, what made you decide to go into commercial real estate? And then how did you go from being a newbie to president of a region?
Sure. So, you know, back when I graduated from college, back in 1996, I got out of school, and quite frankly, I was one of those guys that I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. You know, everyone kind of asked you, what are you going to do after college? And I'm like, I don't know. You know, I had some interests in marketing and advertising and sports management, but I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And so when I got out of school, I started talking to a lot of people, and one of my friends worked for a marketing agency, and they said, "Hey, Ben, you know, we're hiring here. Why don't you apply for the job?" And that's what I did. And so I took a job in marketing, and I worked there for a few years. And I quickly realized that I wasn't real passionate about it, but it paid some bills. And from there, at the time, I was like, I looked around and there was a lot going on in the .com world. So I left the marketing world into the .com world. Well, everybody knows what happened there. .com bombed, which at that point in time, I still wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And so I kind of went the easy route, and I went right back into a marketing position for a company. And I worked there for a few years. And I'd like to say that I'd like to think that I was pretty good at what I did, but I was never real excited about it. And it was right around the time that my wife and I were starting a family that, I came home one day and I said, God, I can't do this anymore. I was almost 30 years old and I just wasn't real happy. And so I took about a year, actually, it took about a year to start to think about what I wanted to do. And what really drew me to real estate, quite frankly, was I had owned a condo that I bought, obviously, but then we were selling it. And I sold it on my own. I said, oh, I don't need anyone to help me sell this. I'm going to just put a for sale sign. I'm going to, put an ad in the paper. And I sold the condo. And I really liked the kind of the back and forth and the negotiation of all that, where, people came and they're like, hey, what are you asking? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I'm asking, $300,000, whatever it was at that time. I don't even remember. But the back and forth, I really enjoyed that. And someone said to me, hey, Ben, why don't you go into real estate? And I was like, like, that's kind of interesting. Maybe I should go into real estate. I said, but I didn't really, even though I liked selling my home, there was like this emotional element to it, a very emotional element to it that I wasn't so excited about. And they said, oh, no, well, you don't need to do residential real estate. You should get into commercial real estate. And at the time, like, I was like, well, what does that mean? And I was talking to a friend of mine who was in commercial real estate. And he's like, Ben, there's like so many avenues in real estate you can go. And like this, in its simplest form, it was like, you can go into industrial real estate, you can go into retail, you can go into office. And I started just talking to a lot of different people in the industry, in the commercial real estate industry. And I quickly realized that it appealed to me. It had a lot of what I was looking for. I was looking for a couple things at the time. One, I wanted to control my own destiny. And the way that it was described to me was, well, Ben, you join a real estate firm and you'll have to get licensed and you'll work for this company, but everything you do for yourself. You're basically deciding what you want to work on, what you don't want to work on. And this idea of, you can make as much money as you want. It's just about how you apply yourself and what type of work you're chasing. And that all really applied, that really like resonated with me. And so then I had to decide, do I want to get into industrial or office or retail? And I remember talking to a few people in the different markets, and retail at the time was kind of interesting to me. And I met a guy who was really successful at it. And I said, I want to come and work for you. And he was like, Ben, I'd love to hire you. Actually, I really think you have what it takes. He's like, but I don't need anybody. And I was like, I was like, well, maybe I'll go find someone else in retail. And actually, I started talking to different groups, and I decided that I was either going to work in industrial or office. And someone said to me, he said, the biggest difference between industrial and office real estate is that in the industrial side, you're in your car all day. You're driving down the interstates and you're looking at warehouses. It's like if you're on the office side, like you could be working in an office in downtown, and you can take the train to work or drive to work or cab, whatever. He's like, but that's the biggest difference. And I said, yeah, I don't want to be in a car all day. And that's what got me into office real estate. And then, again, I told you I spent a good part of the year talking to different people, and I just was networking, and I met a guy, and he says, hey, Ben, you might want to reach out to this company called Bradford Allen. They just started in Chicago. It's, two guys that actually moved here to Chicago from New York, and I think you'll like them. And so I picked up the phone. I called them up. I said, hey, so-and-so gave me your name. I want to talk to you about a job, about a broker job. I interviewed with them. I really liked them. And I knew at the time that I needed a really good mentor more than anything. I'd been in business already. It was like about 7-8 years, but I didn't know real estate. And so I remember interviewing with them. These guys' names are named Jeff and Larry, who are good friends and, mentors of mine to this day, my partners. And I was sitting and interviewing, and one of them said to me, he's like, Ben, you could probably do this. He's like, but we're kind of concerned you don't have any like real estate experience, and you don't really have a ton of sales experience. You have like manager, account management experience, but you never like picked up the phone and really made cold calls. And I said to them, I said, well, you guys don't know Chicago. I said, so maybe we're a perfect fit. I know Chicago. I know what I'm doing here. I can do this. And I think we both kind of took a chance on each other. And 20 years later, it's really worked out. So that's kind of the long and the short. But
I love
uh,
that story. That's a great story. So now you manage a team. And so what is the makeup of your team? Are they mostly really experienced people? Do you have some new folks? When I introduced you and read your bio, you said you're uh, part of your responsibilities is also recruiting. So tell me what your team looks like these days.
yeah, no, absolutely. So so like you said, first off, uh, I oversee the Chicago region. I actually oversee the brokerage group. So the team consists of landlord rep brokers, tenant rep brokers. We have some industrial brokers, and it's a group of about 25 people, uh, give or take. And it's a combination of some seasoned brokers and some newbies, that literally, 23, 24 years old, even right out of college, that, they know they want to be in sales and they know they want to be in real estate, and they're looking for the right place to teach them and to show them the ropes. And so it's a combination of all those. So we have some folks that have been with us for 19, 18 years, and then some that literally have been with us for just 3, 4 months at this point. And even actually, I think we hired our newest broker just maybe 3 weeks ago. So a little bit of everything.
Right. So what's your management style like? Are you somebody that, let's say, if you hire someone that's new to the industry, you just sort of hand them off to a more senior person and say, deal with them? Or are you more hands-on? How does all of that work?
Sure. So one thing that we do, and we want to make sure, is that if we're going to bring somebody on, the same way that I mentioned to you that Jeff and Larry are my mentors, there's got to be a mentor mentee relationship. We don't believe to bring people in and just basically give them a seat, give them a phone, and say, all right, go do it. We want someone to be invested in their future. And we believe that by doing that, we're building loyalty, and they're showing them the ropes, and they're going to be, invested partner in their success. And I've seen it both ways where people have come in and they don't have that. And then, a year or 2 years later, they leave because they're looking for more. And no one wants to come to work and just, no one wants to come to work and just like feel like they're on an island. And so it's really about being part of a team and being part even of an individual that's going to be investing in their future. And so when someone's brand new, young, recently out of college, that's 2, 3, 4 years out, we're making sure that we have somebody that's going to really take them under their wing and show them the ropes. Real estate, it's not just about picking up the phone and calling. It's tangible. And you look outside, you look out your window, and there's buildings, and you need to understand that they're living, breathing things. You need to understand how to look at them. You need to understand the cost basis, and even some of the basics of just like, all right, what are we saying to the people when we're talking to them? And so all those things, I'm not going to tell you can't learn them on your own, but I think that especially for the people that are coming right out of college, and young folks, the most important thing for them is to learn from somebody that someone's going to teach them. And nothing brings me more joy than someone that I'm working with that, they come into my office and say, hey, Ben, I got this meeting, and, I think I could take it on my own. Right. Like where I'm always willing to give them that shot, and I encourage it because that's a way to, it means that I've taught them and they feel good and confident that they're going to go and do it. And my goal is that, if they're doing that, then, it doesn't happen overnight, but if they're with me 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years, they're going to want to do that for the next person in. And I've seen it. And it's a great way to teach, and it's a great way to run a business. And it really empowers uh, you know, those people within the organization that I'd say have grown up with you.
So, what are some wins that you and your team have had, let's say, in the past year?
So, I mean, I think that there's wins every day. There's little wins, and then obviously there's bigger ones, and then there's wins that you've been working on for a long time that finally get done. And so, I mean, I can't pinpoint just like one win, but what I can tell you is that I really celebrate all the wins. So I'm gonna start with, there's some new folks that have started with us recently, and I'm gonna tell you, hey Wendy, it takes a lot of time in our business, to make money. It just does. And so I'm going to answer your question about wins, but I'm going to answer it with some sort of like how it works in our business. So it's really a simple model in our business, in that you got to plant a lot of seeds. You got to water them, and you got to nourish them. And over time, uh, you're hoping that they're going to work with you. And so someone that comes in day one and they start making phone calls, it's really pretty unrealistic to think that those folks are going to be transacting business, or even getting deals in the first year. It happens, but usually, you just right place, right time, which I think, as the queen of cold calling, it's not that they're lucky, they're doing the right thing, but still there's an element of luck. But so in the first year, it's really difficult. Well, I'll tell you that one of my most favorite wins is those new brokers that start with us, and 2-3 months in, they get a meeting. They get a meeting for a piece of business. It doesn't even matter if we win the business. I don't care. The fact that they get that meeting, and we go and we pitch a piece of business that early on, that is huge. And it does so much for that person, that they know they're coming in, they're being mentored, they're being shown the ropes, then they get a meeting. Now, even more so if we win the business, right? Where they sign an agreement with us that we're going to work with them. There's nothing better than that. But that's what we're seeing, right? So we've been doing this a long time, and we see people now that come in, and 3 months in, they're getting meetings and we're winning business. And that's just huge. We haven't made any money on it, but we've won the piece of business. When you win business in our industry, it means that someone is committing to work with you. And ultimately, there's going to be some type of commission at the end. And so it's fantastic. That's the first one. So then fast forwarding, we do, when I'm talking a lot about some of the younger brokers right now, but when a young broker that's working with us, when they win the business and then they're working on it for the next, that could be 3, 6, 9 months, when that business closes, we celebrate those wins. It's the first deal, the first commission. It doesn't matter if it's $1,000 or $500,000. It's the fact that they've put in the time, they've done what they need to do to be successful, and they see the fruits of their labor. There's nothing better than that. Now, fast forward in some of the more, senior brokers and just, team members, as they're getting hired on different size deals and different projects, those are huge wins. Our team, our landlord team, has really been very successful over the last 18 months. They probably brought in, I don't know, a few million square feet of new business. That's huge. For us, when that happens, it means that they're going to be transacting deals. And every one of those, without those buildings, those deals can't happen, right? And so those are tremendous. And then, on the tenant side too, the tenant rep side, we've won a lot of new business recently, and we're transacting it right now. Some of it has closed, and there've been some really nice sized deals. And I mean, those are the wins that we're seeing, you know, day in and day out, and it's fantastic. I love it.
Well, what I love the most about what you've been talking about is this idea of celebrating the little wins and the big wins. Because especially if you do have a long sales cycle, which you do, the big win takes a long time. But if you celebrate those steps from the very beginning throughout till you get that big win, it's such a more positive way of navigating. And also for somebody that's brand new that starts at zero and a few months later they get that first meeting, that's huge.
It's
They're on their
huge.
way.
Yeah, I mean, I years ago, I remember having a conversation with one of my friends in the business, and they were telling me that early on in his career, he worked in a team, and he was one of the new guys on the team, and the team would go out, every month or every quarter. I don't remember what he said, and they would celebrate the wins from that month or that quarter, and they would invite everyone from the team to go. And it didn't matter if they were contributing to those deals or not. They wanted them to see them celebrating and drinking the Cabernet and going out to a really nice dinner and really, really just enjoying what they've been doing. And I said, oh, that's actually a great idea. And I went back, again, this is years ago. I went back and I pulled in some of my partners and some of the other brokers. I said, we don't celebrate enough. I mean, we're working our tail off. We're in here every day at 6 a.m. We leave the office, 6, 7 p.m. We're working 10, 12, 13-hour days. And look, I mean, I look myself in the mirror and I'm like, I'm actually, part of the problem. Like, the deal gets done and people are like, hey, Ben, congratulations. And I'm already thinking about the next one. And which is good and bad. And I look, again, like sometimes you have these, like, even these water cooler conversations. And what it teaches you is that it's really important to celebrate because after the deal's done, quite frankly, usually it's not that you're forgetting about it, but you're moving on to the next one. And no one's patting you on the back saying, hey, great job. And so, certainly your clients say, hey, thank you so much. This was great. You did a great job. And we're going to work with you again. And like, that's great. That's good and all. But you really do have to celebrate. You really do have to celebrate because if you don't know, nobody will for you.
Yeah, give
And
yourself
so,
that pat on the
yeah.
back.
So we've built it into what we do here. And, both with the individual teams, every quarter we're celebrating, every month we're celebrating. And then obviously with some of the bigger wins, we have bigger celebrations. But in general, we we like to reflect and look and say, and also just say, look, what did we do good here? What could we do better? And how did we get in? Getting back to salesology, where did this relationship start? How did we get to this point? And again, those are teaching moments too. And they come from different places, right? But a lot of times it's from a cold call. And I
Yeah.
love those. But I truthfully, I like them regardless of where they come from. And I really appreciate loyalty, and I appreciate clients that we're pitching against a few other groups, and they say, we're going to work with Bradford Allen, and they'll tell us after the fact, like, look, you know what, we met with 3 really competent, really good groups, and we have fierce competition, and I will tell you, my competitors, they're all really good at what they do, and so when someone says, we met with 3 other groups and here's why we're working with you. And, there's nothing better than that. There's nothing better.
Absolutely. So we are going to pause here for a word from our sponsor. But then when we come back, I want to know what drives you crazy. We've been talking about all the good stuff. I want to know what drives you crazy about managing a team. But now a word from our sponsor, Salesology 3X Appointments. You know how frustrating and stressful it is when you leave every sales meeting wondering if your team knows how to sell because they're not selling and all you ever hear from them are excuses? They blame your marketing, they say you need to do social media, and they say you need a new website. You know something's wrong, you don't quite know what it is, and you're even starting to wonder if it's you. You don't have a lot of options. You can just fire them all and start over. That would be expensive. And you're really sick of waking up in the middle of the night wondering how to fix this. Well, imagine instead that you have an easy-to-use, replicable system that ensures that your team can easily schedule qualified appointments. And imagine that your team is excited and motivated. No more excuses, and you feel good. Salesology 3X Appointments can make that happen. If you're a business owner or a sales manager with an underperforming sales team, let's talk. Click on the link to my calendar in the show notes, schedule a time, and I look forward to meeting you. And we are back with my special guest, Ben Azulay, who is a principal and president of the Chicago region of Bradford Allen. Welcome back, Ben. And so I want to know what makes you kind of crazy about when it comes to managing a team.
So I'll tell you, what makes me a little bit crazy, but also, I take a step back sometimes, is that I know what worked for me. And I know I'm not going to, it's not always a one size fits all. But in general, in our business, you know that you got to make a certain number of phone calls. You got to shake a certain number of hands. And one of my mentors would say to me, it's really very simple. It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. So what drives me crazy is the folks that I work with at times that they come in and they say, it's just not working, Ben. I don't know what's going on. I say, well, how many calls are you making? Well, I made 20 calls. And, how many people did you go to lunch with, this past month? Yeah, I met with 2 people. And I'm like, yeah, no, that doesn't work, right? It's really very simple. If you don't put in the time and make the right number of connections, it's never going to work. And so that really drives me pretty crazy, because I think that in my business, I can't speak to others, but I think a lot of times that people are fooling themselves. They're making them think that they're doing the right thing. So even there's guys that make the right number of calls, but they're calling the same people every day. And the people are never answering. Well, I think it's sort of a pretty easy decision. You need to call some other people, right? You can't call the same 50, 100 people every day if they never answer the phone and never change, right? So it's like some of those type of things really drive me nuts. The other thing that I guess drives me crazy, just in terms of, and that I feel for everyone in our business, is that it never moves as quickly as you want it to. And it's an exercise of patience. And I think that, look, I've been doing this 20 years, and so I get it and I understand it. I still, to this day, it still drives me crazy, though. And I have to take a step back sometimes and say, okay, I have to relax. The deal's moving the way it should. It could be moving a little bit quicker, but it's going okay. But still, it's hard because, we have different groups and different outside partners that have, expectations that things are going to happen in a certain time frame. And sometimes it doesn't work that way. And so, listen, my philosophy on life is we can only do the best we can. And so that's kind of where, I'm okay with it, but it also drives me nuts. So I'm like, as a broker, you know what you want to do and you know how you want to do it. But the partners around you, it's how you're going to get them there, and realizing that not everybody works the same way. And so it's just about understanding that. So that, that's one. Two, what really drives me crazy, I guess even more than that, is you go to a pitch and you've got this book and, you've spent a lot of time on it, and and as you're flipping through it, you see something that I'm not even going to say it's an error. It's just something that you should have caught, right? Something that you would have done differently. And that just drives me nuts. Not because more times than not, like the people, the people that you're pitching, they don't notice it, but you notice it. I mean, I'm a perfectionist, honestly. Like, I like things to be perfect. I know in our business and in all sales business, you only have one time to make, to make a first impression, right? And that is everything. And, I preach to my team all the time: be prepared, be prepared, be prepared. And, when I'm not prepared, or I feel that I've done something, that I put something together that isn't exactly the way it should be, it just drives me nuts. And by the way, half the time I've been hired, it doesn't even matter. But still, it drives me nuts.
I completely identify with what you just said. So I'm working on that one too. So where can people find you? If somebody wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, people can send me emails. I mean, my email is BAZULAY at BradfordAllen.com. And that's BradfordAllen.com. They can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I don't think there's a lot of Ben Azulays out there, and certainly not Ben Azulays at Bradford Allen. So it should be easy enough to find me.
Well, I will interject for anyone that wasn't quick enough to write down Ben's email address. We will put that in the show notes, along with the website, the link to Bradford Allen, and Ben's LinkedIn profile. So if you want to talk to Ben, finish listening to this podcast and then go to the show notes and click on the link.
Yeah, awesome. And then I have my own podcast called 10 with Ben. You could look that up on Spotify. People can call me too. They can call me at Bradford Allen, 312-994-5774. So, I mean, I'm easy enough to find. And like I said, I don't know how many Ben Azulays there are in the world, but I can tell you there's not any other Ben Azulay at Bradford Allen.
Okay, well, we have the best one on this podcast if there are others. So we have the best.
No doubt.
So, you have been listening to the Salesology Conversations with Sales Leaders podcast with my special guest, Ben Azulay, who is a principal and the president of the Chicago region of Bradford Allen. And if you found value in listening to today's podcast, please think about one business owner, one entrepreneur, one sales manager, sales leader, somebody that you think would also find value in listening to this podcast. And please do share the link with them. And until we meet again, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, really large bills.
You've been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. Be sure to follow so that you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every week for more exciting insights and wisdom on transforming sales. And until next time, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, very large bills.